Well, in a few days' time, there's an auction coming up at the Silverstone Classic, run by Silverstone Auctions. This is the catalogue I've got here. And two of the cars are currently being prepped by Autofarm, which are a Porsche specialist in North Oxfordshire, I know pretty well. So I've popped down today, brought these two cars out. There's a Porsche 964 RS and a 911 2.4S dated from 1972. Two cracking cars in the auction. I'm going to give you a little guided tour around them, show some of the details I look for if I'm buying a car at auction, all the sort of things I check out. So let's go and have a look at them. 911S 2.4, and this is dates from 1972. It's guided about 130 to 150,000 pounds. Right, I'm going to give you a little close look into some of the details of it. First thing to see, I can date it as a 1972 car because this is a very rare thing to see. This only was in 1972, and it's actually, everybody thinks it's for petrol, it's actually for the oil. Check the paint, check all these gaps, see how tight all the lines are on it. But don't go completely overboard looking at it the first time you see it. What you want to do is, after you look at the car, is go to the desk at Silverstone and ask to see its history. So if the guy then hands you a history file like this thick, you're on to a winner already. I looked through this, and this dates more or less everything that Autofarm have done it, some of the early history, and it also contains this, which is a certificate of authenticity from Porsche. The thing about Porsches of this sort of vintage, they're pretty basic inside. You don't get a sort of beautifully leather trimmed interior. This has actually got the sport seats in it, and they've all been retrimmed, and it actually presents really well in here. Beautifully finished dash, all original radio, blue spot radio, etc. And if you get in an early 911 and this feels a bit, the gear change feels a bit sort of slack and wobbly, they're all like that, sir, I'm afraid. That's how they work. Typical 911. My car's the same, this sort of flimsy sort of covering they use, not a true carpet. I like to see a toolkit, so that's good. This is all a bit messy here. Reason being, that's where the battery hides, and probably the owner has a cut off there, which is quite nice, so you can isolate the battery if it's going into storage or something like that. I just check the numbers all match. If you're looking at the history, it's quite nice. You actually get a spare wheel. It's a proper alloy wheel rather than the space saver you get on later ones. And here you're just looking for accident damage or original paint colour. You can all tell that from here. But this one checks out absolutely fine. Note on an early one, this is known as a sort of curved front, and the original enamel in the badge, I can tell that dates from 72. But around the back is really the important end on a 911, because obviously that's where the engine hides. And here we are. This one's really nicely presented. It's been looked after by Autofarm. So one of the touches I really like of Autofarm, you'll see if you have a little close look on the oil filler, they always put the date and mileage on it when you take it in for a service. Everything looks terrific on here, well cared for. They can tell that from the history and all the correct stickers along the back. Okay, now moving on to the 964 RS. Now, most of these dates from 92. This one dates from 1991, which is almost the very first one that ever hit the road, because it was actually given to a race driver, a Porsche race driver. They were trying to entice him back into the company. And it's a super rare one because it's also the club sport. Now, they made 1,280 964 RS in total. 290 were this club sport version, which is instantly recognisable by the seats and the roll cage. We'll have a look in more detail when we get in there. But they are properly stripped out, absolute track weapons. He loved driving around the Nürburgring, and this is what this car is designed to do. And these are highly, highly sought after, and that's why this car carries a guide price of 230 to 260,000 pounds. Now, very different look here. I don't even get struts to hold the bonnet up. It's far too heavy. No carpet whatsoever. The strut brace here. I've got a space saver, remarkably, and the battery as low as they can mount it, basically to make it as this ultimate track weapon. There is a chassis plate there, which I'll check obviously against its history, and a fairly large tank. So, as you can see, a pure stripped out racer. The bit on a 911 that's really tricky to get right if they have had accident damage is actually this gap here. And I just check either side of the door, just where that front wing hits there, and that wants to be spot on either side of the car. Inside, we've got a much smaller wheel than before, RS in there. What I find fantastic with all 911s, you still have the clearest instrumentation. It's something that carries right through. That other car was 72, here we are in 91, exactly the same sort of layout. 5-speed gearbox in here, no air conditioning, no nothing, no carpets, body colour here. They've really stripped this one out. The touring version of these cars are around 1,220 kilos. This one comes down to 1150 kilos. They stripped out 70 kilos out of this car to make it this really intense driving experience. Okay, that's the interior. Now let's have a look under the covers. I'm going to do the same as we did on the other one. I'm going to open the front. There we are. Bonnet and engine cover. This car has a full history with it, but it's not actually with the car today. But if you're at the auction, you can inspect the full history. And I know this has had a glass out full respray, and that's why it's beautifully presented. And I like the way they've retained the original stickers on the inside of the cap. Little anorak details I love to look at when I'm looking at a car like this. The back, it's beautifully presented. I know this top end had a top end rebuild a couple of times as well, which is I want to see. The only non-standard item I can see on it is the KN filter. I quite like to see the original air filter, but this makes much better sound, so I can quite understand why the owners put that on there. Right, so there we go. 2 cracking cars coming up for Silverstone Auctions. You can watch online if you go to silverstoneauctions.com. Well worth, great entertainment. I'll probably be there. I'll try not to, but if I had to choose one of the cars, I think that's the one I'd really like to take. A really sweet 911S 2.4 is my pick of these two, but both are really special cars. See you there.